Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Casual Sports Podcast. As we got, which way is this? Sideways Matt Morrison over here. Matt, why are you sideways there, buddy? You're sideways and muted. And he's gone. All right, welcome into the Casual Sports Podcast. It's Thursday. Hope everyone's off to a good start today. A lot to go over. Of course, we're going to be talking a little Horizon League baseball standings and a little what's going on this upcoming weekend. As Matt back on
when
it.
I came in, I felt like Alvin the Chipmunk was talking to me. Your audio was on my end or something screwed up. I started laughing. Oh my goodness.
Well, Matt, welcome into the Casual Sports Podcast. Welcome everybody else. Matt, I think you got something pretty cool you want to mention here, don't you?
Absolutely. So, a friend of ours is a newspaper writer for the Jambar at YSU, and she needed some help, writing her article, and she was like, "Oh, I need one more business," and I'm like, "Hey, we're a business, we're a podcast, so long story short, we're in the Jambar for her podcast, so getting a little more shout out here in the Jambar, and I'm shooting them out.
Tell people what page it's on if they want to go check that out.
So it's going to be on page. What is it? I'm looking.
At the old man show, Matt's got the newspaper out.
It's page. To get my glasses.
Yeah, right.
But it's on page 6. It's called "A Closer Look at YSU Student-Run Businesses," and we're at the end part of the article. So
yeah, we're in the third column of it on the left.
Yeah, you read it though.
Yeah,
I like the part where it says they've been broadcasting for 2 years and just have no plans to stop.
Yeah,
like, we're going every day 2 to 3. So we're going strong here. So
that's a fact, Jack.
There's a shout out to Samantha Smith who wrote the article. I've known her for a while. She's a good friend. She's active a journalist too. So just a shout out to her, and thanks for getting our name out there more. We're in the paper.
Yeah, we got a newspaper clipping to put in the scrapbook.
Absolutely, man.
All right, well, how about we get into what happened with us last night? Obviously, we had the doubleheader in Struthers with the district semifinals. 2 games that really showed us the 1 and 2 seeds were by far the number 1 and 2 seeds in this region. Liberty, they absolutely destroyed the champion of the MVAC Scarlet tier in a game that they led at halftime 35-8. This was about as one-sided of a game as you could have had. This was a Waterloo team that had 1 loss on the season, and Liberty came out on top 62-33. This was by far one of the most dominant performances I have ever seen out of this Liberty squad. I've been very high on them all season. That first half was the best first half of basketball they have played this season. Whatever they were doing,
absolutely.
They switched into a zone defense for the first time really all season. They had been pretty much woman to woman all year long. They switched into that zone and they dominated that Waterloo squad. They were not going to let anybody of the main group beat them. Kyra English and Rose Coots, I think, were the 2 girls Liberty was determined to stop, and they did that to perfection. They let Foster go off with 10-plus points for Waterloo. She was the only one that really had any sort of momentum in that game for the Vikings. And on the other side, Demi Watson hits the first 11 points of the ball game. She can't miss. She's drilling these things from downtown range. Aaliyah Foster's her normal paint presence. And then Sienna Smith decides it's my time to shine on defense, started dominating. Banks and Parker were getting steals. Kylie Thomas wasn't letting anybody have a fun night defensively. You watch that game and everything about it was just, oh my God, what is happening right now?
I'm just sitting there like, what?
Yeah, because I was doing play-by-play for that, basically screaming, and you're just still shell-shocked the entire time on what you're seeing, because you saw this Liberty squad. Matt, you saw this Liberty girl squad just 8 games ago. 8 games ago, your Brookfield team pulled off the upset against this squad, but that was a different Liberty team you saw out there on the floor.
Yeah.
Repping some new jerseys as well in the district.
Oh, dude, those uniforms are sweet. But
yeah, they were.
Yeah,
they got him in earlier in the week, and Coach Watson was like, "We got to throw these on."
I'm just watching Sienna Smith though. She threw that ball. She did this a couple times. like full court passes down into what's her name, Aaliyah
Aaliyah
Foster, and she's just unstoppable in the paint, and she'd win every time. I'm like, oh my gosh, like these passes are amazing. And I'd have to follow it with the camera, like, holy crap, she's throwing it again. Get ready to follow the ball. Like, you know,
Yeah, Matt
I'm
was
used
getting
to it.
whiplash from working the camera with those girls last night. They
I
run
know.
so
I was
much.
just staring right into the camera, like, oh, hurry up, follow this, follow that. Like, you know, when you're on court like that, you don't get an angle. You have to follow everything. So it's
Yeah, and you know, in the other game of the district semis, your Brookfield squad, they had a little bit of a trouble closing out the game against Ursuline. They pulled away quickly in it. They ended up winning at 57-41. Ursuline was playing Cinderella. They're a 9-win team. They had 14 losses going into that. It was an okay season for them. They fell apart in the late stretch of the year, but they had pulled off 2 big wins to start out the playoffs. Made their way to districts by no mean a small feat for that one. A good season wrapped up with just, I think, a really disappointing loss, because the team that showed up in the second half of that game put up one hell of a fight. And if that team had showed up for all 4 quarters, or, you know, maybe if Brookfield had an off first quarter, I think this would have been one heck of a game. And unfortunately, Ursuline, by the time they got things going, it was just too little too late. It really was a great performance on their part in that second half.
Oh, it was.
But at the end of the day, you got to win the first half to make things count.
Leslie Scott, man, she was going off. She was just trying to do everything for her team, you know. She just, ran out of steam at the end. But she was still putting it all out on the floor. It was amazing. It was amazing what she did. Just keep fighting. They made it look good at the end. So.
Yeah, well, Matt, there's a pretty clear path for either Liberty or Brookfield now, as they will take on each other for the 3rd time in the grudge match of the series. First one, when the home team has won every time, but now we're on a neutral floor for round 3, which I think is the perfect way to do this here. And no better way than a district final as well. That's 7 p.m. Out in Struthers on ysnlive.com. Matt and I will be on the call again for that one.
Think
should be epic. Winner will go on to take on either Trinity or Waynedale, and that Waynedale squad on the north side of this bracket is one of a kind, man. They have been phenomenal all season long, and I think they're one of the few.
Would they get a date to face them?
No, that'll be at Cuyahoga Falls High School in the regional semifinals. Winner of that one could potentially take on Garfield, champion Warrensville Heights, or EC at Elyria Catholic. So still some great matchups left. And Garfield and champion, Garfield's one of the only teams other than Brookfield that challenged Liberty this season. I think that could be a great potential rematch if Liberty can get through Brookfield and
same thing
Waynedale.
With Brookfield and Garfield. Those are some close matchups. The champion game, too. Those are losses to Brookfield. Brookfield took the L in those games. So a rematch, to get a trip to state, that'd be sweet.
Yeah, Matt, but right now I think everyone's got to be focusing in this region of the bracket is that Waynedale team 23-0, coming off a win over the 13-11 Fairless 40-24. They got Trinity on Saturday as well, and they have dominated all season. The playoff game before Fairless, they won 69-6. Yeah, so they're pretty good. Obviously, they were going against Oberlin. Oberlin was 1-15 on the season. They weren't doing too great. They had scored just 247 points in total this year, which was about 1,000 less than what Waynedale had scored to that point in the season as well. So it's been a dominant squad. And the one thing I can maybe say at that point is the travel could catch up with them, coming out of Worcester, or the Worcester High School region. But they're a school that they're from Apple Creek, Ohio. I think they might have a little bit of travel to be going around a lot, I think, in my opinion. So maybe that's one thing that could potentially diminish them. It's an hour and a half from here. And if they can make it up to Cuyahoga Falls, it's going to be another hour and a half journey for them. So I think maybe one hope is that we have Liberty and Waynedale go up against each other, because I know as much as Brookfield is making a great run and they could make some noise in the playoffs, it's still my opinion. I think Liberty might be the only squad out of this team, out of this group. And Brookfield can very easily prove me wrong here. They have a very talented squad. I saw that last night firsthand. But in Liberty, to me, they got something special brewing there. I've been saying it all season long, and I just want to see them complete that run and see if they can do it against Waynedale. Because to me, if they can do it against Waynedale and Brookfield in back-to-back games, they have anybody they want in the rest of the season.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody, not even Purcell Marion, the number one team in the state of Ohio, could take them down. I honestly think this team goes through Waynedale. They run through Region 9. This team's making themselves down to Dayton in that championship game, most likely against Purcell Marion, in what would be a pretty phenomenal game to see coming up.
Sweet.
But,
that'd be sweet.
Yeah. A lot of things going on. Should be an exciting finish. Of course, we'll keep an eye on it as we move further along in the high school playoffs. But, Matt, let's get into some Horizon League baseball here for the weekend. Series are starting on Thursday, or today, I should say, at 8 p.m. tonight. Milwaukee's taking on Arizona. Milwaukee on the season right now, 3-0. They're perfect. They got a 4-game stretch coming up against Arizona. Probably underdogs here, but with the start they had to the season, taking down Alabama A&M in a 3-game sweep, in the final game they won 12-2. I mean, they were definitely showing some bright flashes to what they could do on the season. Going here against an Arizona squad that is obviously in a major conference in the Pac-12, and it's going to be a tough uphill battle. But with the Horizon League right now, out of our stronger teams, I think this one might have as good a chance as any to make some noise here. Arizona's 3-1 on the season. They let's see, who did they lose to here? They lost to Grand Canyon University 19-3.
Oh wow.
So they have wins over number 14 Texas Tech, Oklahoma 14-4, and Kansas State, but they lost their home opener. Now they have 4 straight at home, against Milwaukee. So I think, coming off that home loss, I think game 1, Arizona can probably get in there. But I think by those Friday, Saturday, Sunday games, especially those Saturday, Sunday ones, I think Milwaukee is going to make some noise out there and pull the upsets over Arizona. I think they got a good chance to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. I mean, these Horizon League teams, I mean, they're tough teams. I mean, Milwaukee is a very, very tough baseball team. So, yeah, I mean, you never know. It's a 4-game set. I mean, I'd be happy to take a split with an Arizona team.
Yeah, if you split that against Arizona, I think that's a pretty good margin.
That's a top school. I mean, I know they're good, but I mean that win you said over Texas Tech. I mean, Texas Tech was like ranked 14th, so in the country. So to beat them, so that's pretty good. They beat them pretty good, like you said. So if Milwaukee takes a couple games, they're like, hey, this team beat another good team, and we beat them. So it just ups their resume a little bit,
Yeah, I mean, GCU won the WAC last year, so, I mean, they're no slum either. So Milwaukee's going to have their hands full going up against this squad. But, I think they got a shot at least. But next game up, we got Oakland and New Mexico State, 3-game set for the weekend. Oakland so far in play 2-1 overall. They had a strong showing last time out against CSU Bakersfield. They won that last matchup 7-0. Matchup before 10-6, and the game before that they lost 4-5 in the first game of the season, but they slipped up game 1. 2 games after that they were looking pretty strong out of there. They have some great pitchers right now working for them, and they got a lot of upside. Obviously everyone's got some stuff they can work on at this point. 2 of their pitchers were higher in walks in that first series between games, so they got to bring those walks down. But an on-base percentage by Lux leads the Horizon League right now. He's up there at 600. They got another guy in Goulet who's up there at 571 as an on-base percentage. So definitely some guys that can get on base up there and sacrifice bunts. This team's going to watch out. You got to watch out for them to make a few of those. Their guys, they have 3 guys in the top of the Horizon League right now for getting those sacrifice bunts. So it's a team not afraid to give up outs for some advances in the base running.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it. I'm not too familiar with the baseball yet, but I mean, I'm trying to learn from what you're saying. But I mean, some of these teams, they gotta get going faster and sooner. Some of these teams they have to play. I mean, yeah, they're tough teams, but I mean, the season starts somewhere. So
yeah, man, and this New Mexico State, they're getting familiar with the Horizon League early. They had a 3-game series to start out the year against UIC. They took 2 out of those 3 games. They lost the first one, took the last 2. This is a team that is starting off the season with 12 straight home games, so they're getting very comfortable. So Oakland coming into New Mexico State should create some interesting matchups. But with Oakland at 2-1 right now, they're obviously one of the favorites to dominate this Horizon League for a good portion of the year. They always are one of those top teams. I think they make some noise again in this one. Obviously, this Horizon League, when it comes to baseball, probably the best all-around sport for the Horizon League is when these teams play baseball. At least with YSU, I know that our boys baseball team, a very solid unit. They know how to win some games, and I think, you've watched this Horizon League the last few years, have some teams at the top of the standings that make some noise come end of the year.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, this YSU team and, teams around them have always been tough teams over the years. They're tough battle teams. So, I mean, they're going to make runs like, we won't believe sometimes. So,
yeah, I mean, Oakland's
always
already
good to keep an eye
on a
on.
bounce back from last year. They were 11-24 in that last season. So, or that was just in conference. They were 17-29 overall. That Wright State at the top of the standings, they finished off at 35-13. So that's a pretty good team you got to watch out for.
Yeah, absolutely. Wright State's always good though in most of their sports. So.
Well, next one up here, Northern Kentucky. They got Mississippi State, so they got some SEC action going on here. Should be a fun matchup for them. They're obviously a strong team, or they have been in the past. This year, starting off 0-3, obviously not where they'd like to be. After a 17-31 season, you don't want to have back-to-backs like that. Mississippi State probably takes this series here. The SEC is one of the best conferences when it comes to baseball. Obviously, this is the one sport Vanderbilt is good in. And they make no. Actually, I think they're decent at soccer, I think, as well. But the Vanderbilt SEC has always got pretty much the entire conference up there in the top 50 in the nation. So Mississippi State probably takes this series, at least 2 out of the 3 games for this set. But I don't know if Northern Kentucky can sneak one in here. I think they got a good shot at making a nice run this season, perhaps in Horizon League play, making some noise. But the next game to talk about here is a beautiful one. Wright State are one of our big teams, 28-4 in conference play last year, 35-13. They got a matchup against number 3 Oklahoma State coming up. That should be the biggest game to talk about for this one out in Stillwater. I mean, Big 12 hosting this one. At the moment, this is a 3-game set. I think we're hoping right now Wright State can take one of those. I mean, if they take 1 out of 3 against the number 3 team in the country, I think they should consider themselves lucky. If they can snake away 2 games in this, that's going to be amazing. If they take all 3, Wright State is going to be by far the favorite to take home this conference this season after last year's performance of dominating the Horizon League. And to start out against Oklahoma State, if they can take those wins, it should be smooth sailing through the Horizon League at that point.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, that's where they place a lot of these teams, and that's where they favor some of these teams to win, the leagues. If they put them up against tough teams to begin with, like Mississippi State and like you just said, who Wright State's playing. I mean, if you take 2 or 3, if you take all 3 or you take 1 or 2, they're going to start looking at you and they're going to be like, hey, like they're going to start recognizing your players and, even the coaching staff. So you're going to get recognized all around, and you're going to get the accolades for that. So
yeah, and the only downside right now is Wright State designed this schedule to punish themselves. I mean, they started out 0-3 against the number 11 Georgia Tech on the road in 3 straight games. They were close in 2 of them. They got blown out in the middle series at 5-16. The other ones were a 1-point loss and a 3-point loss. So they're 0-3 right now. They're not going to worry about that record too much till they get to Horizon League play. This is a tune-up for what they might face in postseason play. Is really how I'm kind of viewing this with the way they played last season. I don't think they're too worried. They're starting this thing out on a 9-game road stand. So this team is getting tested early. They got Virginia Tech coming up next weekend as we head into spring break next week. So they put themselves through the gauntlet to start this thing off. I'm excited to see what they can do this time out against Oklahoma State, because I don't think this is a team that wants to start 0-6.
No.
Well, next one. This one's our team, Matt. YSU Baseball on YSNLive.com this weekend. You can catch Richie on the radio call for that one. Should be a fun one. They got Belmont coming to town. So a 4-game series there. We're off to a 2-1 start. I definitely think that our fans would really like to see, obviously, the entire what am I talking about here? I would really like to see every game of this one swept. I think in a 4-game series, it's very hard to get that sweep. We're talking about a Belmont squad, 4-1 on the season, took 3 out of 4 games against Toledo and took another game against Middle Tennessee. They have allowed just 5 runs through those 5 games on the season, while scoring on their own end 29. So they're definitely up there right now, or 28 so far on the season. So they definitely know how to score some runs. They get to host Youngstown State for a 4-game stand this weekend. A doubleheader on Saturday, both 7-inning games. I think that's where YSU can sneak a good one in there, and then hopefully take one of those other 2 games to split that series. YSU, though, one of the biggest things out of that first stand that they have to improve is our catchers got to play better. They gave up a lot of steals in that game. I think it was double digits through that first series. In 3 games, they let up 10 stolen bases. So that's one of the biggest things. There was, in terms of steal attempts, I think it was 14 in total. 10 of them were successful. YSU's got to stop letting that up. I mean, this team's got a great handle. DeSanio's got a 455 batting average right now through that start of the season. Other guys have to come along with that. I mean, this wasn't a team that was getting blown out by any stretch, and I think they make a good shot here. They obviously started 2-1 against Bethune-Cookman, but that's against Cookman. We got Wright State starting out against Oklahoma State and Georgia Tech. The level of competition in the Horizon League this year is not going to be Bethune-Cookman. If they want to compete at a high level once they get into Horizon League play, it starts here with a great series against Belmont, getting that stolen base percentage way down for your opponent and getting some more guys to come along and continue that hit rally that they've been on here to start out the season.
Yeah, just got to keep doing what you're doing, keep hitting. Yeah, just keep playing the game you were born to do. That's the way I put it, So.
Yeah, next game up for us, though, UIC, they got a game matchup against Berkeley's Cal. So they're out in California this weekend. Cal probably the favorite to take that. UIC right now 1-2. They dropped that series to New Mexico State that we talked about. Not looking like it might be the strongest of years so far for this program. Obviously, though, still it's so long to go at this point to even talk about Horizon League play. I mean, you start off with slumps every year, right? You always have that one team's like, you count them out. It was like Villanova earlier this year in basketball. You counted that team out. They made a run. UIC last year, they were 30-18 overall, 28-11. If anybody can make that start to this season after what's gone on so far, I think it's UIC. They won the first game, dropped the 2. I don't think this is what team that's going to go on a losing streak that long. I think they probably steal one of the 2 games against Cal this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very possible thing to happen there. I mean, teams come in and, it's like you said,
it's a short series, it's only 2 games.
It's a short, so I mean, anything can go in those 2 games. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, you get to launch your 2 best pitchers at Cal for, 18 innings. So you get to see how that turns out. But next one up, Fort Wayne, they got a good shot here to make some early season noise. They were a team last year that there's my website has broken here real quick. Last season, that Fort Wayne squad, not great, 10-35 overall, finished the season on an 8-game losing streak, going up against Cal Baptist. Probably a good spot to start turning some things around, maybe find a run. They got a 4-game set there. I'd like to see those guys at least split that series with Cal Baptist, if not take it.
Yeah, and I mean, Purdue-Fort Wayne, it's about time for them to start snapping out of this losing trend that they've had, in all their sports. So if maybe the baseball team can, get some momentum going, because the basketball team's no better. But, we'll see what happens.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and move it on here to college basketball. As we're out of the baseball, we'll head over to college hoops. We're starting off with a great matchup tonight. The second time we'll see these 2 take the court against one another. The by far favorites at the moment to take March, the Gonzaga Bulldogs and the San Francisco Dons going up against each other tonight. Matt, as much as I love this Dons team, they aren't what I thought they were. Gonzaga's only a 10-point favorite on the road for this one. I think they take this one by 20. I mean, San Francisco, they are a good team, 22-7 in any other conference. I mean, they're probably fighting for first place. They're only, at the moment, a couple of games back. They have more losses, but they've played a lot more games so far in the season than Gonzaga has. So they're only they're 4 games back. At this point in the season, they're not going to make that final run. There's just not enough time left in the season with 2 games left on the schedule, but they could end up finishing with more wins or the same amount of wins as Gonzaga if they can somehow pull off this upset. I don't see it happening. Gonzaga is just that good, in my opinion, when it comes to in-conference play. They've dominated the conference all year. I don't think there's any question at this point to say they're not going to continue to dominate it to finish out the season against San Francisco. And then once again, they'll have the number 23 ranked St. Mary's.
Yeah, and they beat last time they played St. Mary's. They beat them 74-58. So they still take care of business. It's kind of sickening, like how good they are, especially in this this conference.
Join a real conference, Gonzaga. I mean, that's the thing.
Join another conference where it's more.
I can't imagine for their fans that this is very interesting to watch. I mean,
it's not.
I know they got star players, and that's why they can get that gym packed. But at the end of the day, I mean, wouldn't you as a fan rather go watch your team take on top teams like you would in the Pac-12, at least the Pac-12? I mean, Gonzaga is a team that obviously they're used to travel. They could even join like the Mountain West or something just to give a little bit more competition, because this conference they play in, I mean, no offense to the other teams in it, but it is so out of Gonzaga's league. I mean, Gonzaga is miles ahead of the West Coast Conference. Without the West Coast Conference, without Gonzaga in the West Coast Conference, that conference very easily probably falls apart.
Probably, yeah.
Without this team probably supplying most of the revenue. I know St. Mary's, San Francisco, and BYU are nice teams to have in there, and they're going to keep that supply up, and they're good teams. But this conference has no real numbers to it without Gonzaga. If Gonzaga was to ever leave, who are we going to really say, oh, out of the WCC this year, we got BYU. Yeah, they're good. I mean, St. Mary's, they're going to be like, cool, that's another team that we're going to be talking about, probably a first or second round exit. There's nothing exciting about this conference. No. And that's one of the biggest problems I think everyone's always said about Gonzaga. They're playing in one of the weakest conferences that you can see.
They are.
This is why everybody hates them every year, because they take the easiest ride to March, and then they dominate because they have really good players. But they have really good players, and they should be playing in at least half-decent conference where half the teams can at least give you a shot. We can't even depend on the number 2 team in the conference to give them a shot at this point.
Yeah. And, I know some Gonzaga players recently got picked in the draft, like Jalen Suggs. But a lot of teams, I bet you a lot of NBA teams are like, they're looking at these players, and the only real play they get is in the March Madness tournament, because in the regular season, they can't really go and scout those games because they're playing crappy teams. So it kind of lowers their draft stock a little bit.
Well, I think they've done just fine. They got Kelly Olynyk, Domantas Sabonis, Zach Collins, Roy Hachimura, Brandon Clark, Jalen Suggs, Corey Kispert, Killian Tilly, and Joel Ayayi, who's no longer in the league, I believe, or he's on a two-way contract.
And the one I can remember a little bit way back, like 30 years ago, I know John Stockton went there as well. But, they're still going to get picked, but, I feel like NBA teams maybe feel that they, maybe feel a little bit more uncomfortable because, I don't know how to put it. Like, they're playing bad teams. Like, they're not going to go and scout them because they're just going to, kill these teams. They're going to slaughter them. And it's like bringing the cows to the slaughterhouse. That's what it is when these teams come into the Gonzaga. Who's going to want to go to these games? This goes for the fans, too. You're talking about the fans. I bet you these fans don't even start watching until March Madness actually happens. No, because they know it's all wrapped up already.
Matt, I'll say it's like this. It's when Ohio State's going up against Rutgers or Maryland. You know what's going to happen. Or when they're taking on a team from the MAC in the preseason, the pre-Big Ten season. You know what's going to happen.
But that happens once in a while. But but this is happening like every game.
Right, that's
Gonzaga.
A couple times a season. This is every game during the conference season. When Ohio State gets in conference play, or Penn State, or one of our blue bloods.
Like if I was an NBA scout, I'd be coming to Ohio State versus Minnesota, or Ohio State Michigan, or even Ohio State Penn State, because I know this is going to be a game that they're going to be pushed to their max. And
Am I going to Gonzaga versus Santa Clara? No.
Yeah. No.
Am I going to Gonzaga St. Mary's? Yeah, probably. Am I going to Gonzaga San Francisco? No, I don't think so. St. Mary's, I think, can give you a little bit to look at. As much as I love this Dons team and what they were doing early in the year, there's just no competition for Gonzaga.
They haven't been good since Bill Russell was there.
Hey, I mean, they're having a good year. Don't discredit what they've done. But Gonzaga's on a whole nother level that is really, frankly, at this point, unfair to the rest of the conference. And for the conference's sake, obviously they want to keep Gonzaga around. You're not going to let your top dog just walk, go off leash on their own. Obviously Bulldogs got to make a dog reference. But at the same time, I think if you're a group like the Pac-12 that's not seeing the same level of dominance that they used to have, college basketball used to be run by the West Coast. It's not that same thing anymore. And I think a big part of what needs to happen is the Pac-12 needs to find a way to get Gonzaga into that conference and put that team up against their top guys, even if this is just a basketball situation where Gonzaga joins them and they stay out of it for the rest of the conferences or whatever it may be. Gonzaga needs to find a way into a better conference. Oh, maybe
they do. I don't even know if it's
WCC and they keep getting 1 seed, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm full of crap here, but that's my opinion. I'd like to see Gonzaga play meaningful basketball in January and February.
Yeah, I'm actually Googling it. 1 second. BYU's supposedly leaving the conference. I said, should Gonzaga change conferences? And the main thing that came up September 4th, 2021, here's how Gonzaga should respond to BYU's likely departure from the West Coast Conference. BYU's leaving.
Yeah, Matt, in terms of conference realignment, there's another big situation going on just south of us here in Ohio with Marshall. They're going into a lawsuit now against the Conference USA to leave that conference as well. They've been trying to put in their notice since for I think the last 2-3 years, and the Conference USA won't let them leave at this point. So an interesting situation going on there as well in terms of teams leaving conferences. Obviously, you're seeing quite the big shakeup coming here in the next few years with the Big 12 getting realigned, the SEC getting redrawn, ACC. There's always the potential of them formally adding Notre Dame football to the rest of that schedule, as Notre Dame already plays in every other league besides football in the ACC. So some big changes of potential to come at this point now. But let's continue moving along here with the college basketball. In hoops, we got the Ohio State Buckeyes going up against the Illinois Fighting Illini. We've talked a lot about these teams tonight, so I think we just go ahead and give some picks. I got to go with my Buckeyes coming in this one. Coming off that tough, gritty win against Indiana in overtime. Terrible shooting. I didn't see the game, but I heard the refs were questionable in that one. Refs are always questionable, in my opinion. There's very few games I go into and say, I really like those refs. The one game I can say I really liked how the refs called it was that Liberty game we saw yesterday. The second of the two, Brookfield and Ursuline, that game was bad. The first one, Liberty Waterloo, I would say I think those refs called it pretty much the same throughout the whole game. They may not have been perfect, but they at least remain consistent in the way they call the games. And I think you get into situations like these in a game like Ohio State, Illinois, at this late in the season when, you have not conference championship on line, you do potentially for Illinois in the regular season. But this is still important for Ohio State not to fall lower into conference standings with 5 games left on the schedule, 4 games after this one for that Big Ten postseason tournament, because Ohio State's got to position themselves well to get it. So don't think this is going to be a rollover and, scratch my belly situation with an easy kind of a ride to finish out the year against Maryland, Nebraska, Michigan, and Michigan State to wrap things out, because Ohio State probably can take all those. They're 4th in the Big Ten right now. But thanks to those Rutgers upsets, Rutgers is tickling in right behind them in that situation. They're 1 game back from the Buckeyes. So Ohio State's got to keep the pressure on, and they have to pull this upset against Illinois tonight in order to, allow that rest of the season to work out the way they want it to. Rutgers, they have Wisconsin, Indiana, and Penn State left on the schedule. Wisconsin will give them a shot. Who knows if they can pull off some more upsets, but those other two games probably won't do much. So they're going to be maybe one more loss in the season. Ohio State can't afford to do that loss with Michigan State coming up as well, who obviously is a very
and they'll fall out
opponent,
of the rankings,
even though they're not in the top 25 as of right now. I also don't think Ohio State can afford to drop out of the top 25.
No.
With the criticism this team gets every single year going into March Madness and slipping up, they got to have a strong push this season.
Yeah, they do. That's why I'm going to pick them in this game as well, because I don't think they can lose any other game. I don't think they should, or they can. So, they're going to be pressing all their players, Liddell and, Wheeler and, even Zed Key. I think that they're going to take it to the max, and Illinois has been known to fall off. So, I think, honestly, I'm basing this off the Rutgers game. Ohio State lost to Rutgers, but only by 2, and Illinois got killed by them. So, I'm kind of basing it off that. They played them better. So.
All right. Well, I'm surprised you didn't go with Illinois in that one, but sticking with me in the Buckeyes one more time. This one, talking Belmont again, second time on the show. We talked about him during baseball. We could talk a little bit about him here in basketball. 24-5 overall, 14-2 in conference. Most likely not going to steal the conference away from Murray State, but they got a good shot to close that gap down here in the regular season as they got Murray State tonight. It's out there in Murray, Kentucky. Murray State 16-0 in conference play, 16-game win streak. Belmont, though, they're coming in on a 10-game win streak. So, both these squads are gunning for each other at this point. I don't think Belmont's going to sneak away that regular season conference championship, but they can definitely, get inside that mind of Murray State. If they can pull a win here, you got to know if they take it now, that postseason conference championship tournament, that's going to be a potential for some chaos.
Oh, yeah.
If you get to a rematch I think you got a good shot with Belmont to pull that a second time around if they can sneak it here in the regular season.
They could sneak it. They could very well sneak it. They're a top team. Nobody's saying Murray State's running away too quickly.
Right. I think Murray State comes into this one maybe actually underestimating them a little bit, because last time they beat this team by 22 points. It was dominating, 82-60 in that game. So I think Belmont comes in a little stronger tonight. I still think Murray State's the better team, though, so I'm going Racers.
Oh, yeah, me too. I've been racing with them all year, so I got to stick with the Racers.
Well, last college basketball game to get into here, the South Dakota State Jackrabbits at 25-4, 16-0 in the Summit League. They got Oral Roberts, the team that went as a 15 seed last year and upset my Ohio State Buckeyes in that first round. I think they pulled the second round upset there as well. They're being led again once more
they won a couple
by Max Abmas. He is just an amazing talent, 22.6 points per game. His shooting percentages, though, have taken a little bit of a dip this season. I don't like seeing that one. 3-point percentage is down. Field goal percentage is down by 6%. I think his draft stock is severely hurt after this season, especially with the noise he made last year. I don't know if he's going to get that same amount of hype coming out this year unless they can make some noise here, take down South Dakota State, put themselves in a good position for that postseason tournament. And obviously they need to take that tournament to take a potential shot once again at March Madness. And that's Max Abmas, man. He needs to get back on that horse and see if he can, rattle the ponies.
Yeah. And, there was a huge altercation in their last game against North Dakota. So I think it was North Dakota State, actually. So 2 games ago, there was a huge altercation. So they won their game after that against North Dakota. So they're just trying to move on from that, I bet, and finish off the season strong. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm taking South Dakota State in this game. As much as I think Oral Roberts need this, I think you've just seen South Dakota State really put on the wheels this season. And they got one man doing everything for them, Baylor Shireman, who is averaging 15.5 points per game, 8.4 rebounds, 4.6 assists per game, 52% from the field, 46% from downtown, 81% at the line. And this guy's also getting the steal as well every game. And he's put up some nice performances. Last time out, he put up 23, time before that 19. And so this is a guy that could really potentially make some noise and actually may even get the Summit League Player of the Year as well come come award time. He's one of their best players unless they give it to Max Abmas, who obviously is also going to be in that running for it. But I think despite the fact that Abmas has 7 more points per game, I think Shireman does more for this squad than Abmas does because that Oral Roberts squad, they got scorers all around. I think you take Adams out of that lineup. They might not be as good, but I think they're still a solid team with the way they can score. I think you take Shireman out of the Jackrabbits. I don't think they're 16-0 in conference.
Oh, geez. Probably not.
We're talking about a guy that's shooting it that well and that consistently, and his numbers are pretty much staying at 15 a game. I mean, I think that's something you got to watch out for. That's a dangerous guy come postseason. If they can take one of those seeds, I think this is going to be a similar situation to what Oral Roberts was last year. You're going to have a South Dakota State team probably ranked 13th, 14th, 15th, and they're going to make some noise in that first round. I think depending on who they go up against, I'm taking South Dakota State in that first round.
Oh, yeah.
If it's South Dakota State versus Villanova, I'm taking South Dakota State all the way.
Oh, yeah. Especially, I mean, Villanova is such an upset type of team. I mean, you saw what happened
last night. They just lost last night.
Yeah, against UConn.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to actually go Oral Roberts in this game. I think
know
they
you are.
need to – yeah, well, I think I know what you're going against. And they beat your Buckeyes, man. I wouldn't be able to pick them
at this point
again.
I can ever pick Oral Roberts.
No, I wouldn't be either. But I got to go with them. I think they have a good team. They didn't just beat Ohio State and lose. Like I think I would have been more mad if they lost the next game, but they made a little run last year. So they beat some good teams. So I got to roll with them. Nobody's even heard of them until last year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they really were.
Yeah.
I mean, I had never heard of Oral Roberts. Then, all the jokes come out about their name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, moving on here out of college basketball. Matt, I had you taking Oral Roberts since before the show started. Actually, I went in before the show and just wrote down who I thought you were going to pick in every game, and I've been right so far.
Oh, geez.
In every game I predicted. We'll see how I didn't.
Well, you thought I was going to pick Illinois. You even picked that I was going to pick Ohio State.
Yeah, I had you right. I had wrote you down as Ohio State.
Okay.
Sorry, you're predictable, bud.
I know. Well, maybe
all right. Well, let's move it on here into some NBA action. In the NBA preview, we got Hawks and Bulls tonight. Obviously, Matt, this Bulls squad, you've been high on them all season.
That's probably you probably wrote down team. Bulls. Did you write down Bulls? Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm going to pick them.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think this is a game. It seems pretty clear cut, but then again, this is the NBA. It's not always going to be, oh, this team is the better team. They have a better record. They're going to win. It happens more times than not. But at the end of the day, I think the one thing right now going for this Bulls team, they're on a 5-game win streak. The Hawks are on a 2-game. Hawks have been terrible on the road. This is the biggest stat, I think, when you look at this Hawks team. When they've hit the road, they are 11-17 overall. They cannot find any way to win when they hit the road. And the Bulls right now, they've played the second best out of these last, or third best out of these last 10 games. Celtics are on their way back up, guys. 9-1 in that last 10. They lost their last game. They're on a 9-game win streak before that. And the Raptors, 8-2 in their last 10 as well. That's a team that is going to make some noise here pretty soon.
This Raptors team is looking pretty good. They were in momentarily in the playoffs, but I mean, Boston went on a surge and got back in. So, I mean, it's cool to watch this Raptors team though.
Yeah, and I think out of all of this, I think maybe the one big thing to watch out for is I'm going to take the Bulls in this game too. Let's talk a little bit Eastern Conference and how this situation might work out with the play-in tournament. I think this is very interesting because at the moment, is getting that 7 or 8 seed is what you were fighting for. Now that means you have to play an extra game or two in the postseason. I like what I'm seeing now is you have to get those top 6 spots, and I think that battle for 6th and 7th and 8th and 9th, even 10th and 11th and 12th at this point, it's becoming a lot more competitive than I think what we've seen in recent years. I'm really liking what the NBA has done with this play-in tournament. I think it adds a little bit more, excitement to bring you down the stretch of the season. Because at this point, I mean, if you're a 5 or 6 seed in years past, I think you're liking how things are going. And now as a 6 seed, you got to start worrying, hey, I got these teams right behind me that if they knock me down a step or two, I suddenly have, a one and done situation to lose my season that I've played phenomenal for. I think this adds some intrigue to the postseason for our seeds that are a little bit farther down. Because if anything out of all of this, how you finish in the playoffs can help determine how you are seeded for the lottery in the NBA draft. So depending on how this thing works out, you could get a different draft spot than where you were thinking. It can be better, sure. But I love the intrigue this is adding and all the questions it brings to the end of the season. I know maybe the one downside is we're getting some teams with losing records into the play-in tournament, but survival of the fittest, man. If you make it down the final stretch of the season, I love the one and done type feel in basketball. Basketball is the perfect game for one and done. Baseball, maybe not, but basketball is a one and done kind of game.
It is. It honestly is, and I
There's something about that excitement in basketball that I know that's how football would be weird in the series, so obviously that's one and done. But this is one of those sports that if you have a one and done situation, I'm not even sure I'd be upset if I saw an NBA entire playoffs where everything was one and done. You imagine the chaos that would ensue out of a one and done playoff scenario all the way through. That would be awesome, in my opinion, at least.
That would be.
But I love this one and done situation. So we're both taking Bulls in this one.
Oh, yeah.
Continuing on in the NBA, the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves. Matt, this Timberwolves team, they're starting up. And obviously, Big Cat just won the NBA three-point contest as a big man. I think the first 7-footer to ever do that. They're 7th place right now in the Western Conference. The Grizzlies, though, they're 3rd place. If they were in the East, they would have a 3-game lead on first. This is a really good team that, unfortunately, is having one of their best seasons while the Warriors and the Suns are having even better ones. So it just seems to be that scenario that the Suns were in last year. What?
They're not too far behind the Warriors, only about a couple games.
Game and a half, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is a team that's even better on the road than the Warriors are. Warriors on the road aren't that great. They're 16-11, and the Grizzlies 8-2 when they've hit the. I mean, pardon me, not 8-2, 21-9 when they've hit the road. It's a pretty good mark on what they're sitting at right now, and I really like what I'm seeing out of that. I mean, obviously, with that, you want to see that home and away, that home split get a little bit bigger too. They're 20-10 at home. As much as I love how you play on the road, you kind of dominate even more when you get home. That's why you're seeing the Suns on top of the standings, and even the Warriors right behind them ahead of the Grizzlies.
Suns, man,
because they're both really good at home, and the Suns are really good on the road. They're 22-5 when they've hit the road, and they're on another big win streak again. They're up to 7.
Suns are pissed. Suns are pissed. They went through all that.
They're coming for that title again, man.
Oh yeah, they're gonna make a run. They got. I mean, they're mad. I mean, they almost had it last year, and I mean, I was cheering for them last year in the playoffs. I mean, nothing. I didn't have anything wrong with Milwaukee winning, but the Suns were. They felt like they were stolen. That the NBA title was stolen from them, and they're making a statement here. So whoever is going to face them is, I mean, look out. But everybody's saying right now, I mean, a Suns versus Heat finals matchup would be sweet. Be sweet. As much as I want my Cavs to get there, I mean, Cavs.
I was gonna say, I want Cleveland. I don't give a crap about the Heat, the Bulls, the Sixers, the Bucks, the Celtics, the Raptors, the Nets. I don't give a crap if it's we're taking on the Suns, Warriors, Grizzlies, Jazz, or the freaking Lakers. I want Cleveland in that playoff.
Or the Blazers.
Had such a great year. I don't give a crap. I want that title.
I don't give a crap who they're playing. You bring on Miami. We beat them by 30 last time. Go ahead. Bring it on. In their home, where we haven't won in 12 years. We beat them by 30, I think. So bring it on. I don't care. We're making a run at it. We're here. We're going
for gold, man.
Oh, yeah. We're going for gold.
Yeah, but in this game, Matt, I think the Timberwolves really have a great shot pulling this game. I know they're not playing the best basketball right now, and they probably could be better. But this is a team that last time they went against the Bulls, they've just lost by 12 points, and they've had some tight games coming out. The Raptors upset them right before the All-Star break. They had an overtime win against the Hornets. This is a team. They're scrappy, in my opinion. They may not be the best team and the most complete team, but they're scrappy, and they always have been. I mean, you look at those guys they have leading the charge. Patrick Beverly, D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, and Karl Anthony Towns, along with Jaden McDaniels, Malik Beasley, McLaughlin, Taurean Prince, Naz Reid, Josh Okogie. Yeah. I mean, this is just a team made up of just gritty guys, man. I love what they got going on in Minnesota.
Taurean Prince was pretty good for the Cavs when he was here. So
yeah, I liked Prince when he was he was with Cleveland. Yeah. But on the side of this Grizzlies squad, this is exactly where they were supposed to be. I mean, that first season with John Morant, they were huddling in there right around the 8th seed. They were dealing with some injuries, and they were having some great play out of Jaren Jackson Jr. He continues to do that. Zaire Williams is stepping up. I still love Steven Adams. He's one of my favorite big men in the league right now.
I mean, people forget he's here. But I'm like, he's here. He's not in OKC anymore, where he was there forever. And a lot of people forget that he went to Pitt too. Like, they don't.
And he's
So,
from New
that's
Zealand.
cool.
I mean, did you hear the stories about this guy during the COVID outbreak when the NBA went on that like brief hiatus or long hiatus, I should say? He couldn't get back to the U.S. for training, so he was out working on his dairy farm, boxing out cows. I ain't going in the paint against Steven Adam. He can box out a cow. Granted, I don't know how successful he was at it, but he was doing it.
He was doing it. Hey, he was probably the only one boxing out cows.
Well, yeah, I mean, unless
Boxing
somebody
out
was
cows?
working with
How
Zion.
do you do that? I bet you his cows are huge too.
Yeah, I mean, unless somebody was boxing out Zion during the outbreak.
Maybe. Oh yeah, that'd be pretty bad. That'd be a test.
That'd be a test because one, that guy's gotten big, but I'm sure he's still about as athletic as ever in his ability to just bully his way through people.
And he's fat.
I mean, look what Shaq did when even Charles Barkley, when he put on some weight, that guy was still a force underneath. I think that weight, when it comes to big guys and how they play, if you can carry that athleticism with your weight like Shaq did, then you're a dominant player. I'm interested to see if Zion can ever return, if he still has that bounce with him, because if he has that bounce and keeps that athleticism like he had before, that's a freak to be out there on the floor. I wouldn't want to go up against him. I think if he comes back, he's going to have a pretty nice career. If he can come back and has that same skill to him.
We'll see.
But Matt, coming into this game, Grizzlies took that last loss to the Blazers before the break. I think I got the Grizzlies right now. This is just one of those teams. This is, as I said, if they're the Eastern Conference, they're number one overall. So it's no question, I think, for me on how good this team is. It's just a matter of, is anybody above them going to slip up at any point? I mean, they're only a game and a half back from the Warriors. I don't think anybody would have thought the Grizzlies would have been the third team making that big run. I think we would have said the Jazz or the Nuggets or even Clippers or Lakers as always, if they can ever stay healthy and have good seasons.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, a lot of people, I mean, even Jay Williams was like, oh, Grizzlies are going to be in the NBA Finals. Like, he's like totally.
I think they got a good shot. They're very complete.
They do. And if they don't make it, I mean, John Morant's going to be around for a while. He kind of reminds me of like an Allen Iverson type. Like, he is the answer for Memphis. Like, he's that answer. He is.
Or how about Carmelo for Denver?
Yeah, right.
Send that back a little earlier.
Yeah.
Actually, that's same era. Never mind.
Same era.
Actually, AI may have been a little earlier than Carmelo. So.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, he was more 90s. He was in the 90s. Early 90s when he started. But, I mean, we'll see. I like John Morant. He's a heck of a player. I mean, he was in that draft with Zion, too, and a lot of people are like, oh, Zion's the best in this draft. It's not really looking like that right now, is it? I mean,
no.
Did you see these dunks that he was putting off?
First season, he was drafted in 96.
96. Okay, I remember because he put the crossover on Michael Jordan. Everybody was like, all right, yeah. So. We'll see.
Yeah, but I mean, it should be an interesting game. I think John Morant has a lot of comparisons right now. I mean, I think he's got a play style that is similar to that of Mike Conley. And you mix, I mean, he's played with Mike Conley, so that makes sense. He's kind of taken some of those skills from him. You obviously got to throw in just the insane athletic ability of Derrick Rose. I mean, this is almost, you put together your prototypical point guard. You're building John Morant. You want a guy with bounce who can go over everybody, amazing ball skills.
He went over Kevin IQ, Love.
Can pass, can shoot from outside. I mean, he's your do-it-all kind of guy. He out of all the point guards in the league right now, out of the young ones, I think he's got the brightest upside. I don't see many other point guards. I know Darius Garland's great. He's not John Morant, though. If you ask me right now, would I trade Darius Garland for John Morant? Yes.
Yeah.
No question.
We'd be an instant championship team. We'd be an instant championship team.
I think there's potential.
John Morant
I know Darius Garland's great and he works well with this system, but at the same time, to be able to bring in a superstar like John Morant, even if it means burning Darius Garland in that, I think that's a risk. I think some Cavs fans, including myself, would be willing to take.
Oh, yeah.
With the potential upside John Morant has, if you can keep that guy around for the next 10 years, I think John Morant, if he gets in the right scenario, he wins the title in the next 10 years. Because I think there's going to be a huge opening in about 5-6 years when we see all our big guys of the now generation retire and are at the end of their runs. that
Curry,
these young guns like
James.
Luka, even Devin Booker in these next 10 years, who's still pretty young out there. And obviously our Cavs squad with all those young players, Jason Tatum is going to have a shot. I think you're going to see a lot of these younger guys finally reach the limelight. I mean, you got some guys that have just unfortunately had their careers overshadowed by the likes of LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry. I mean, Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
I think you've just had some really great basketball players in the last 10 years overshadowed by some of the greatest to ever do it. And I mean, that happens in every generation.
And they're all going to retire.
Yeah, and they're all retired. These are guys that have dominated. We're talking about guys at this point that have dominated the league for about 15 years.
I mean,
this might be the greatest stretch of certain players dominating that we've never seen before. I mean, Jordan was only here for 10 years in the NBA. He wasn't around very long. I mean, Kobe wasn't around Kobe was around a decent amount. I mean, Jordan was 87 draft, 86?
I mean, it was more than 10 years.
Oh, not by much. Did he dominate all those? No.
No, when he got into the 90s, that's when he dominated. But
he dominated a decade. This is what I'm talking about. To have guys like LeBron James in 10 straight finals, that's a decade of him in the finals alone, not to mention what he was doing on either side of that with what he's done. I mean, talking about Steph Curry, a guy that's pretty much done everything he can at this point. I think you're just in a scenario where, I guess Jordan was in for 20 years, but he didn't really do much. He was really with the Wizards that long? Darn.
Yeah.
He was from there 01 to 03. Man, he did nothing there.
No, he didn't play much.
That's going to be like LeBron playing with Bronny on some nobody team.
I think it was a charity type thing that he was doing. They went and
makes sense. But let's finish this thing up. NHL preview. As we both took the Grizzlies in that game, we'll go into the NHL, the Calgary Flames and the Vancouver Canucks. Now, what do you got going in this one? Because I really like what I'm seeing out of the Calgary Flames. And the Canucks have just been an up and down team this season. But the Flames are now 10-game win streak. I love what they got going on.
Oh, me too, dude. Johnny Gaudreau, I've talked about him the past couple of days. I mean, probably one of the fastest players on the ice, out there with Connor McDavid and even Jake Gensel of the Pittsburgh Penguins. But, I mean, his assists, 44 assists. I mean, he's unbelievable. He can dish it out. Like, he's the main leader of that team. They're a heck of a team. They're first, right? First in the Pacific? In Pacific?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm looking. I'm just going off my head. There we go. Yeah, they're first in the Pacific. So, and that's a tough division to be first in. So, they're a heck of a team. Vancouver, they're in that same division, but they're at the bottom of the barrel. They're down there with San Jose and Seattle. So,
yeah, Matt, and this is one of those things where my algorithm has the point differential in favor of the Canucks, but I got to go with the eye test and the hot team. When you see a team on a 10-game win streak, I did this with the Penguins. I broke that algorithm to take your team, and it paid off. This is one of the same situations. You got a team playing the hottest hockey right now, and that ice is turning into a pond as they skate on it. I got the Flames heating things up in the Pacific.
Oh, yeah. They've been heating up.
Yeah.
Things are going to start burning.
And heating up. Yeah, they're on fire at this point. Well, that is going to do it here for the Casual Sports Podcast. I've been Alek Koberna. That's Matt Morrison. Mike will rejoin the show tomorrow. Come on back because we'll be talking a little bit of NASCAR for the first time. We'll be predicting it since the end of last season. It was one of our miscellaneous picks at the end of last year, plus a whole spew of basketball and NHL and NBA games to talk about. So Matt's playing with his toys. We will finish things out. Make sure to check out Power Hour up next on YSNlive.com. Thanks for tuning in.